when do you start to become a mixed martial artist and an actual professional fighter?
Yeah, going to Duke, starting, jiu-jitsu, that was my first time ever being on the ground and learning jiu-jitsu. And I fell in love with the aspect of being able to submit somebody no matter how small you are and how big they are. And I really fell in love with jiu-jitsu. And then, like I said, kickboxing, it was just like, if I'm better than you, I'm going to beat you. And both of them like just grew on me. And I went slowly from believing in Taekwondo style martial arts, like this is the right way to do it, this is how it's supposed to be done, to opening up my mind to all these aspects of martial arts. And it was just so much to learn. Like it was just like, man, my whole life I've been doing one style of martial arts, and all this is out here. And I kind of just opened my mind up to the world of martial arts. I met Duke, and I just realized his passion was like my passion for teaching, running a business, running a career. Everything that I love, he loves too. And it's like he's been there before. So really, he filled a big spot in my life, man. Like he really came in and gave me some structure.
And this might sound like an obvious question, but so when did the idea of, all right, I'm going to get in a cage and I'm going to fight for real?
Yeah, that decision was for my students actually. I'm like, I wanted to show them why I was going so much. They were like, "Where's Mr. Pettis at?" I'm Mr. A Pettis. Mr. R Pettis is my older brother. I was like, "Where's Mr. A Pettis at?" I mean, we have 250 students. That's a lot of families and a lot of people that missed me. And like I said, like that time, I had to act a certain way, I had to talk a certain way, I had to represent myself a certain way on everything because I had students. So I wanted to show them why I was gone. So Duke's like, "Hey man, let's book you a fight." And initially I was like, "Nah, I don't want to fight. It was gonna be a kickboxing fight, not a MMA fight." And I'm like, "Nah, I want to wait on this, and I'm just training." And then the opportunity came up. He's like, "We got a fight in Appleton, Wisconsin," and I've never been to Appleton at that time. I'm like, "All right, I guess it's just drive out there, try to beat somebody up." I remember showing up like it was a Taekwondo tournament. It was like the fight was at like 8 p.m. and I showed up at 7 a.m. Like Taekwondo tournaments, you show up early, you warm up, you bow in, and you get all ready, and then you come back and compete. Yeah. So I get there at 7 a.m. I'm like warming up, like in the morning, stretching out, and all of a sudden they start building the octagon. The people start coming in. It was just like a total new experience for me. Like I've competed in tournaments with thousands of people watching, but there's 5, 6, 7, 8 matches going on at the same time. Yeah. All eyes weren't on me at that specific time. So once they started building the octagon, the crowd, the music, the lights, and I literally fell in love. I was like, this is like, and it was such a local promotion. It was like so small. Like it was like I'm a couple hundred people, but it was like, man, I get to go perform in front of all these people. And I remember Duke comes in, we start hitting pads, and it just I felt at home, and I felt so natural in there. And I go in there, I perform, 24-second knockout. The guy had way more fights than me. I made it look easy. And I just fell in love. And after that, I was like, "Hey, set me up for all of them." Like, I didn't want to get paid at that time. I just wanted to, like, win fights. I even told Duke, I'm like, "I don't care about the money. I'm making good money with my students." And he would give me a percent of the tickets they all bought. So we had a good little thing going on. It was, like, just for fun. That's what it was for. And then all of a sudden, I'm knocking guys out and submitting everybody. I come in, I beat Rob Roy. Rob Roy was on the Tap Out show. He was, like, kind of, at that time, that was, like, the popular show.
So you were saying it was kind of one thing led to another, and you got to that Roy fight, yeah?
Yeah, my early in my amateur career, 3 fights, it was 20 seconds each fight, and then Duke's like, "Let's just go pro. Like, it's hard to find amateurs to fight you." And I remember like going pro, I was like, "Now I get paid to do this. Now it's kind of like a job." I'm like, I don't know if I want to have a job doing martial arts. Like, I love my lifestyle, like teaching martial arts. And then it was like $300 and $300, and it was at the Harley Davidson dealership where my bar's at, the same little parking lot. So we go there. He's like, "We're gonna turn you pro, $300. I'm fighting a wrestler." I forget the guy's name, but same thing. This guy had like 20 fights, and I knocked him out in like a minute and 16 seconds. And immediately after that, I got another phone call for fight opportunities, and I think 4 fights in, WC calls, and I'm like, man, like it just happened so quick. Yeah. And my WC career, same thing. I go in there, I kill Mike Campbell the first fight, get on TV, start becoming popular a little bit. I get into a motorcycle accident in my WC career. I thought I was the man. I beat Mike Campbell, got some money. I already had that eyes on me from my students, and fell off my motorcycle, tore a shoulder, and set me back for a year. I had to sit out for a whole year. So I beat Mike Campbell, I'm out for a year, take a fight against Bart Pelishevsky, lose that fight. I shouldn't have lost that fight, but I lose that fight, and that was the turning point of where I was like, all right, now I'm focusing 100% on just doing mixed martial arts. Because I was making decent money in the WC, enough to if I fought 3 times, I would have enough to support myself with my career. And then I stopped teaching. I stopped doing everything. Competed fully dedicated to mixed martial arts. After Pelishevsky, I go in, I fight Kara Alexis, Shane Roller, Ben Henderson, and I win the title in a year and a half in the WEC. And then they make the announcement, whoever wins the belt in the WEC is fighting for the UFC title. So my career was just like, boom, sprung like so quick. MTV came about during the WEC, so it was just crazy, man. I went from like a local kid in Milwaukee just doing this for fun and like kind of had some talent to, man, all eyes on you. Like, MTV hit, it was just people coming to the gym to watch me train. It just changed, like everything just changed.
Yeah, and can you describe for someone who doesn't know how rare that is? Most guys who get into this sport, I mean, you're around guys in the sport all the time.
Yeah.
What do the first 4 years of their career look like compared to what you experienced?
Yeah, that's what I said, man. Like most guys' careers don't take off for, in MMA, I've seen guys take 10 years to get something decent. So for me, my career is just like everything lined up perfectly. It was just like a storybook. Like even all the way to the UFC belt, like it was just perfectly set up. Like I was just, it didn't matter what I did, like everything was on fire. Wheaties box, it was just crazy. And then, after the UFC, title run, all of a sudden I go fight Rafael Dos Anjos, and boom, bad luck. Every training camp, something happens, weight cut. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I want to keep talking about the when everything was going well.
Yeah, for sure.
For now, like, were you aware? Were you aware that like when this was happening and this was all coming? Like, were you aware that like, man, this usually doesn't happen so easy? Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't. I was, I was just zoned in. I think like my body held up from the Bart Pelishevsky loss all the way to Ben Henderson fight. And there was like a couple injuries in there, but it was just like nonstop training. I didn't have to take so much time off. I wasn't like battling injuries and battling weight cuts and all that stuff. So I feel like I was just focused on becoming the champion so much that my body was just like, we're gonna do it. And once I won that belt, that's when I had to get the surgery on the knee, and it just slowly just shifted.
Describe the Showtime kick. Like if someone hadn't seen it, describe what the fight was, who the opponent was, and the kick.
Yeah, the Showtime kick is the most basic kick that I've done in martial arts. It's like I used to do it in Taekwondo demos. We'd jump off walls and break boards, and that was like the highlight of the demo. Like we'd jump off, boom, break a board, or like hit a pad. And my style, I mean, people that see me training, I'm very creative. If I'm not creative in there, I'm bored. I'm not having fun. Like if I'm not doing something new or making things that shouldn't link up, make them work in the octagon, like it's just not interesting for me. So the Showtime kick was like something I've done forever, my whole career pretty much, my whole life in Taekwondo, martial arts. And again, another one of them things that like you couldn't draw it out perfect. I have a back and forth fight with Ben Henderson. At the time, he's the man. Ben Henderson was the guy running through everybody in WC, looked unbeatable. And we go back and forth and have this war. 4 rounds. It's like the last round, 5th round we go into it. It's tied up 2-2. Whoever wins this round wins the fight. And it was that round too, back and forth. He had my back, I hit his back. A couple takedowns, both ends, and all of a sudden, the last minute of the fight, I jump off the cage and land the Showtime kick, and the world, like, everybody went crazy, man. That was like, from the MTV to that Showtime kick, my stock was just boom. It was nuts, and I'm still riding that. People still. That's probably. I mean, to land it the way I did, not just landing the kick, but landing it the way I did to win a title fight. WC, last fight in WC history, closing the curtains, and I land that kick, and boom, done.
Why do you think the Showtime kick, like why do you think it came out of you at that moment? Like, why do you think it happened at that moment?
Man, in that fight, I felt really comfortable with Ben. I felt like he wasn't the takedown. I didn't feel like it was such a threat as I thought it was going to be, and I just started getting looser and looser. Like if you see the progression of my striking in that fight, went very basic to blocking a kick to 1 kick return, 2-1. It was like a very simple game plan, and then I just started getting more comfortable. I started shuffling the feet, made him fall down, hit him with a jump knee, and I just started feeling invincible in there, and that's when I just try stuff. I'm just in there creating things. If I would have missed the kick, that still would look cool, but like it could have been totally bad. It could take me down off it. It was a huge risk, but a huge reward.
Why do you think you were different? Like, why do you think it takes a little luck, right? But why do you think that you were so successful so early on?
I think my success comes from my ability to learn quick. Like if I see something and I see somebody use it, I can add that to my game within the next week. So And my flashy style. I wasn't the guy that was going jab, cross, hook, low kick. You know, I was creating different movements, jumping off cages. There's a lot of, if you look back at my career, I created a lot of moves that guys are using now, and obviously making them look better. The kick off the floor, everybody's throwing it, and I was just something I just created.
Do you think that's just because you were one of few Taekwondo guys, or that's like you? Like that's even you in like the Taekwondo world, that you were just more creative?
Yeah, that's me. That's just me in general. Like I think in Taekwondo, like most guys had the basic setups, the nice, clean, technical kicks. I was the guy jumping, spinning. You know, everybody would come watch my ring because they didn't know what I was going to do. And I think that's what I bought into MMA and bought into the UFC.
What do you remember about winning the UFC Championship in your hometown?
Man, another storybook fight that came about. You know, like I was supposed to fight Jose Aldo. I go to Rio, we square off. Phil Davis is on the card. Me and Phil have the same jiu-jitsu coach. We go to the gym in Rio to train, pop my PCL. So I'm like, out of a title fight. I was, you know, again, I was just working my way back up, knocked Cerrone out with the body kick. And then I get the knee injury. I was like, what is going on? Like, at that point, I was just like, what's going to happen? Ben Henderson's the champion. You know, he worked his way all the way up to become the champion. I was watching this happen because I lost to Clay Guida. It took a little longer for me to get that title shot. But he's supposed to fight TJ Grant. TJ Grant has to pull out because of a head injury. And I was supposed to fight in Rio, I think in June, and then this fight was in August. Yep. And Dana calls me up, hey, TJ's out. It's your shot if your knee's good. And it wasn't good at the time, so I was just like, yeah, it's good. You know, I go to the doctor, they give me a PRP shot. You know, they make the knee feel as good as it could, and you know, I had like 6 weeks to get ready for a title fight in my hometown, the Bradley Center. I mean, a place that I've been going to as a kid to watch the Bucks games, to watch events. You know, I get to go perform, and it was crazy. It was just like another surreal moment. Like it just came out of nowhere again, where it was just lined up perfectly for me to get that fight. And that training camp was it was wild, man. That training camp was like, I had a separated shoulder from just overtraining. You know, I'm a young kid, and I'm just like, the tougher I am, the better it's gonna be. Overtraining, training wrong, but I made it to the fight. Go in there, smoke the guy. You know, body kicks, 5 body kicks in a row. I tried a carbo kick. He doesn't. I already could tell he was hurt, but he doesn't let the carbo kick lands. We end up in a scramble, and I just pop up. The first arm bar I threw up, tight. It was over. I already knew it was over. I had both arms. I had his leg. It was like one of the arm bars, no way he's getting out of, and I'm just cranking. Because I had him before in like some good submissions in WC, and I remember I pulled his arm all the way back to his head, and like Gumby, like nothing happened. Yep. So I'm just like, man, I got it. Let's just go. I had both arms, and I just rip it, and like he bellies down. I go face down, and I just put all my weight onto the elbow, and I hear a pop, and he's like tap tap tap, and I'm just like in my head, I'm just like, oh man, I'm the champion of the world. I praise, jump up. And the audience is just quiet. Like no one says anything, and I'm just like, what the heck? Because they didn't know what happened. Yeah. And then I just put my hands on the cage, and Milwaukee just goes crazy, man. It was like a crazy night, surreal moment in my life.
What about the Wheaties box? What do you remember about it?
Yeah, the Wheaties box came about. I beat Ben Henderson. I'm the world champion. I'm supposed to fight Josh Thompson, and then same knee starts acting up again, and we have to operate this time. So I go to LA, get a knee surgery. They're like 12 months to 18 months off. I'm like, that's great, but I'm the champ, so I'm like, all right, you know what? I worked my butt off. Let's heal his body up and let's do it right. I take the year off. We get the option to fight Gilbert Melendez and coach the show, and I'm like, perfect. You know, I'm gonna be out a year anyway. Let's go ahead and coach this, do the show, line it up, fight Gilbert Melendez next year. And during that time, that's when Wheaties did their little competition. They picked like 5 different sports. Dana got behind it. You know, I remember I was meeting with Dana about the Ultimate Fighter show. I'm in Vegas at this time, so I think that's what came about with letting me, you know, be that guy, because he could pick anybody. Yeah. And at that time, I just felt like he was on it. You know, you could tell how hungry I was. Yeah. So he's like, hey, you're gonna be the guy. And we crush it. You know, the UFC, when they get behind something, we got fans. So they're like, hey, you're the next guy on the Wheaties box. And it was, again, man, another surreal moment. You know, I get announced that I'm gonna be on the Wheaties box. We do the photo shoot. I fly out to Vegas to fight Gilbert Melendez. They reveal the Wheaties box 2 days before I beat Gilbert Melendez. My little bro's on the card when I fight Gilbert Melendez. We both win our fights. I win the world champion. I'm on the Wheaties box. We both get bonuses. It was just like, it was perfect. You couldn't write it better.
What do you remember about Duke calling you the Michael Jordan of MMA I think it was before your title fight?
Yeah. I think the moment, I wish we had this on tape. I was warming up for the Ben Henderson fight, and I could not miss. Like, I was so on point. Like, it was just, I could feel it. I just felt like my body was on autopilot. Like, I didn't even have to try. Like, it just felt so good. Like, there was no no hesitation. There was no fogginess. There was no doubt. There was nothing. It was just like, this is your time, man. And my warm up, I think, is why he said that. He's like, he looked like Michael Jordan, warming up for a basketball game. It was perfect.
Have you ever felt like that since?
It's been glimpses of that. I think the mental is where after the RDA fight, I've never lost. I never got hit in the face. I never had stitches after a fight. You go to RDA, I got to get stitches on both eyes. I was beat up pretty bad. That was the first time I ever got beat up bad like that. And it changes you. It changes everything. Like that confidence you used to have to go put yourself in the fire and take risk, you're like a little second doubts. You're like, oh, maybe I'm not quick enough this time, or maybe I'm gonna get hit again. Or so it puts some doubt in your head, and there's no way to replace that besides fighting. And for us, we can only fight 3 times a year, so you gotta it has to be erased in the octagon. It can't be erased in practice. It can't be erased. It has to be erased when the lights are on, when all eyes are on you, and everything's at stake. Because that's when you got to take the risk, not when you're at practice and you're just like, if I get hit, who cares? This is when it matters. So I feel like I'm building back up to that. But to be honest, it's been a while since I felt that invincible.
Wow. Huh. What was that fight like being in it, the RDA fight?
Man, the RDA fight happened so quick. I remember the rounds going so fast. I'm like, what round is it? And I remember I got hit with a left hand, the first exchange, I think. I threw a right kick and I faded to the right. Left hand comes over the top, and I immediately couldn't see out my eye. So the whole fight, I couldn't see anything out my right eye. So I just kept eating left hands. I remember I was just making dumb mistakes. He put it on me, man. Like I could have tapped out, and I could have got out of that fight, but I took an ass whooping for 5 rounds. And that for the first time in my career, I felt like I wasn't the best in the world, and it was shocking to me.
Looking back, would it have almost been better for you if you would have been knocked out by the first punch? Do you think it would have been better?
Nah, I think that had to happen. And that had to be the being in Dallas for them 4 or 5 days after the fight and recovering and just processing what just happened. And I shouldn't have took the fight that quick. I had a year off. I beat Gilbert Melendez in December, and you take a year off. It's not a year off. You're getting ready, and you know who you're fighting. So it was like a year training camp for Gilbert Melendez. Yeah. And then I tried to turn around and fight in March. So there's immediate turnaround, and your head's not into it. You can't turn it on like that. Fighting's not like basketball, football, where you can rely on your teammates if you have an off day. You have an off day, you're done. You're gonna get in physical danger. And I didn't respect it enough. I was just like, I'm the best in the world. Let's go in there and let's beat this guy. And I hit this guy with some good kicks. RDA, he got hit with some big shots and just walked through them. Yeah. And I just think it had to happen. And I hated that it happened, and I hate that I've been where I was at, but it had to happen.
Can you talk about the 4 days in Dallas? So the fight ends, and then what happens to you the next 4 days? The
fight ends in Dallas. I spend the night in the ER emergency room. So first time ever going to the hospital after a fight. I never even got a concussion in a fight. Flawless victory to WC, flawless victory to UFC. First time I felt like I got hit, or I went to a hospital. And it was crazy, man. It was a lot of soul searching, just figuring out what happened, whose fault was it. I made a lot of mistakes of blaming other people, pointing fingers, this guy didn't push it hard enough, this guy didn't focus hard enough. Tried to change a whole bunch of stuff, fired my whole management company, and I always kept my team here, but I just forgot to blame myself for what happened.
And then just kind of talk to me about what happened after that. Talk about the fights, talk about the training for them. You said that the confidence-wise, maybe it wasn't the same. Just the next 2 fights, what was that like?
So we go from UFC world title, Wheaties box, RDA 3 months later, and you get humiliated. I was humiliated in front of the world, and that was something I never felt before. And it was an emotional attack on top of a physical attack, because I go back to Milwaukee. I'm even in Dallas, looking online, and it's just emotionally, people are just, from being the man to he sucks. He's not this. He needs to retire. There's so much negative stuff. So it's emotionally you're attacked, physically I was beat up, and it was a time where I felt alone. It was my fiance who was with me at the time. She was my girlfriend. Sergio lost the same night, so we go from winning bonuses to 2 losses at the same night. So it's me, Serge, and my fiance, and we're just eating ice cream and just trying to figure out what the heck happened, man. And it was you know what? I tried to shake it off. I didn't watch the fight for probably a year. I was I'm not watching that. That wasn't me. And then you fast forward, they're all right, we're gonna give you Eddie Alvarez to rebound back, get you a title shot. again, I go out in there and it just wasn't me again, man. Like I watched that fight over and over. I hurt the guy and I didn't kill him, and it was just weird. Like if I hurt somebody, I kill you. Like if I sense blood in the water, it's a done one. Submission, it doesn't matter. And Eddie, I remember I hit him with a kick and a right hand, and you could tell he was hurt. He was wobbled, and I didn't capitalize, and it was just a weird feeling. It was just like I was holding back. First time I felt like I was holding back, and then I lose the fight, decision. He holds me on the cage. I mean, it was a boring fight. It was horrible. So coming off a loss, Eddie Alvarez, boring fight. I'm like, give me somebody exciting, Edson Barboza. I'm not afraid to fight anybody. You know, I feel like the whole division, I'll fight them all. I've already fought them all pretty much. Yeah. So Edson Barboza comes in, another horrible performance. And during that camp, I went to Greg Jackson's. I started hanging out with Cerrone. Cerrone invited me out for some sparring. I'm fighting a striker, so I'm like, let's go do it. Went to Greg Jackson's, and I saw another world that I kind of trying to drew me back into like loving learning again, like from a different mind. Greg Jackson, you know, he's just one of them guys that could relate, make things clear. Like, you know, he's like just telling me things in my game that he was like, just gave me an idea, and I think it fogged what me and Duke were working on. And then I was like going back and forth, Izzy style wrestling, Greg Jackson, mindset, Rufus Strike. I was just all over the place, and it was me that did that, you know, me and Duke. Like there was no, I didn't wrestle when I won the UFC world title. Like I wasn't a wrestler, I was a striker that if you took me out, I'm gonna submit you. And I lost focus of that, and I lost vision of that. And building that back was the hard part. Getting the structure back to being okay doing these solid moves and not being so flashy, because it looks flashy, but it's not. It's very basic what I'm doing. Being able to do that in the octagon, and I forgot that. I thought I was like the guy who did the Showtime kick. So I'm trying to be this mythical guy that's not doesn't exist. Like that guy, that no one does that. Like unless I have clean, solid basics and I set you up for that kick, that's why that kick landed. You don't just run off the cage and kick somebody in the face, you know, in a fight. So I think I did that to myself. You know, I gave myself so many different views and so many different ideas that I lost who I was. I lost the crazy dynamic striker with amazing jiu-jitsu, and I tried to become a defensive takedown guy with basic striking, and my fight showed.
You think it's kind of like a oxymoron that you have always been fearless. Like you take on the hardest fights, like fights where people are like, maybe you shouldn't even take that fight, but yet you say that your confidence is low, or not what it was, at least when you won the title, which I think is interesting because if you're confident, then you're fearless. But if you don't have confidence, then
I'm the type of guy that I don't get confidence beating a scrub or a guy that's not. I don't think is on my level. I'm the type of guy, if I beat somebody who's on my level, Ferguson, for example, that fight gave me confidence. Even though I lost and I broke my hand, I know where I can compete at. And that was a 5-week training camp, so I'm like, I'm right there. I have what it takes, and I know I have what it takes. I just have to get past that spot, and it has to be against a good guy. It can't be against, you know, no disrespect to anybody. It can't be against a couple step-up fights. It has to be a big fight. It has to be a big something big at stake for me to feel confident again.
Yeah, and so you talked about not feeling quite invincible before the RDA or after the RDA fight, and you talked about reinventing who you are when maybe you should not have.
Yes.
You haven't talked at all about bad luck, and the first half of your career was all good luck, it seemed like, and everything was just laid out perfectly. And contrast that with what's happened since then.
Yeah. From the first couple fights of my WC UFC career to the last fights of my UFC career, it's not even bad luck. It's just things are just lining up badly. Like Max Holloway fight, great opportunity. I feel amazing, got everything ready to go. My cars get blown up 7 weeks before the fight, and my daughter lives there with me. So it's like, how do you train and get ready for the biggest fight of your life when I'm fighting another fight over here in Milwaukee just mentally? And so Max Holloway fight, 7 weeks before the fight, my cars get blown up. My whole garage, my Serge lives with me at the time. His car gets blown up. Crazy time, and it was just like, how do you focus? And I go in the fight, first L like that in my life, and even in the RDA fight, I didn't quit. And Holloway fight, 145 pounds, I had to drop, and it was I never felt that way before. It was like, man, that's how the kicks feel. I usually do that. I'm a guy doing that to people, and then I let that go because it was 145 pounds. I'm like, you know what, amazing opportunity. Had to do it, had to try it. It wasn't for me, let's move back. 155 pounds, get a couple wins. So it's like a win, loss, win, loss. Anybody that's outside of top 10, top 15, I know where I'm at. I know that's not an easy fight, but I'm winning that fight. Yeah. I'm looking for a good run on top 5. I need 2 big wins, 3 big wins, or it's big notable guys that I know is gonna build my confidence back up.
you think you can get back to that, being the invincible guy that was in the locker room, Michael Jordan night? Can you
I don't
be
think
that guy
so.
again?
No, that guy is gone. That version of Anthony Pettis, because I didn't have the knowledge. You know, I was just fearless because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just making it up as I go along. Now I know what I'm doing, so it's kind of it's a different approach. You know, I have to be in the right mindset to be able to stay disciplined to a game plan and not veer to do some crazy kick or some dumb spin elbow. And that's when I break. And I'm watching this in my performance at Tony Ferguson. If I would have just stayed basic and struck this guy like I know how to, I would have beat the guy. I tried to spin, I got hit with an elbow, I broke down structure-wise a little bit. So that's what I'm trying to fix. Them little things right there, that's a structure. It's like it's not a skill, it's like something in your heart that you gotta be able to be comfortable with. Someone's trying to take your head off and whatever, block, bombs, hit back. I lost that part. I'm losing that front end, and then they're backing me up on the back end, holding me on the cage, taking me down. And once I get back up, I don't have the energy to attack how I should have attacked before. So that's what we're fixing this fight. We're going straight.
Which guy is more dangerous, though, do you think? The new Anthony with the knowledge, or the old Anthony that didn't know any better?
Both dangerous. The old Anthony is the old Showtime, the guy who did the Showtime kick. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying stuff, and I didn't know what it felt like to be a champion. I didn't know if I could be a champion, and then I got both championships. I know what it feels like to be the champion. It's not what everybody thinks it is. Like, it's not an end all. You don't become the champion and now you're the man forever. Like, you better defend the belt, you better keep doing it, or you're gonna suck like everybody else. Look at Anderson Silva, you know, one of the best in the world. Like, I watched his career, I was inspired, and then he loses to, you know, he's older. He's, you know, people are just quick to forget in the sport. So I just feel like that guy that was fearless, you know, he didn't know what to expect, so I was just taking risk. And now I know what to expect. I've been in the hospital. I've been on the winning end, the losing end. I felt invincible. I've had some great performances not too long ago. So just more experience, and I feel like if I get the belt this time, it would be held longer. Because now I know guys are watching my mistakes, my habits, and I'm watching them now. Like, I see where I'm losing these fights. I see where it's happening.
Just a few more. Why is this fight with Stephen Thompson happening?
Fight with Stephen Thompson is happening because I'm ready to entertain, man. That's it. Like, I've been the champion. I've won the belt. I've got the fame. I got the money. I got all that stuff that comes along with that. And at this point, I want to have fights that are making me excited to fight again. Like, if I'm not in there excited to train, doing new things, and have something big at stake, like, it's not interesting to me. I'm not entertained by it. And this one I am. You know, I get to move up a weight class, nothing to lose. And I'm fighting one of the best in the world. He's fought my teammate twice for a world title, and we know what we're doing.
When was the last time you felt like you went into a fight with nothing to lose?
I feel like in the UFC, when people fight Anthony Pettis, they're the best version of themselves. That's a huge step up. They beat me. They're pretty much in line for a title shot. So I'm fighting the best in the world of the versions of themselves every time. Like, they're not like not motivated by fighting me. So it's for me it was a while since I felt that way, man. Where it was just like, there's nothing to lose in this fight. There's no reason to push forward. You know, like, immediately losing the title, I'm like, all right, time to get the title back. That didn't happen as quick as I wanted it to, and, you know, things got pushed around. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm putting my career at, and it's just like, I don't know. I just felt like, who's excited to fight? Who's gonna make me feel like I want to step my game up, take my game to the next level, not like help these guys have them have something to win. Yeah,
well, it just seems like ever since you lost the title, it's always been about getting it. Like, it just feels like there would be a lot of pressure on each fight. They're like, the Eddie Alvarez fight, like yeah, I want like an immediate rematch. Like, I want to get back to that title. And then Edson Barboza, like, oh, he's lost 2 in a row. Can he beat Edson Barboza? And then it was like, oh, now he's lost 3 in a row, you know. And then dropping down in weight, and then like a title fight at 145. It just, Tony Ferguson, you know, you knew what was at stake in that fight. Like, it just seems like there's always been high pressure. And this one, like you said, people are counting you out in this fight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, people in this fight, they're going to give me a chance. You know, I don't think people realize how big I am. I think people think I'm a smaller 55er, just because when the weight cut happens, like, I walk around at a nice size, and I'm very similar to everybody in my gym that fights at 170.
How much longer do you think you'll fight?
I don't know. I think once it becomes a job where I'm like, all right, now I got to fight because I need a paycheck. I mean, and hopefully that never happens to any fighter, because that's when it gets bad. Then I'd quit. You know, I don't, like, there's too much other ways I could make money and be successful.
How much do you miss being on the top? Like, once you taste the top, Is it hard not being at the top? Is it harder not being on the top once you know what it's like to be there?
It is, yeah. I mean, once that's the goal. Everybody's goal. If your goal isn't to be the champion, then you shouldn't be fighting. So, me getting it the way I've got it, and the stuff I've done there, you know, is just I want to see what comes next with it, and being able to hold it longer. That's my heart. That's the biggest thing for me. Is like, I won the belt. I defended it once, and then disappeared. Now I'm not even like close to that talk yet. I mean, I want to be that next guy. So, it's just gonna take some time. You know, I'm 32 years old. I feel like I still have enough time to do it again.